You've heard the climate alarmist claims about hurricanes, but are they sensible or nonsense? Dr. Madhav Khandekar, who is who deals with climate change issues, including the recent hurricane strikes. Glad to have you on the program, Doctor. Thank you very much for taking the time tonight.
Thank you for having me on the phone.
I want to ask you about this. The latest move by the Trump administration is to withdraw from the so-called Clean Power Plan that was primarily aimed at reducing so-called greenhouse gas. I don't necessarily buy the theory about CO2 and the way that it affects our atmosphere and our climate, but I wanted to get your take on both that and the recent hurricanes and whether or not the folks who oppose climate change are right to blame all of these on changing climate. Or is this just luck of the draw, given that we've had 12 years from Katrina to the most recent hurricanes?
I know. That's right. You see, let me deal with the hurricanes first.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, I think this is unfortunately one of those years when two rather strong hurricanes struck U.S. Gulf Coast and produced a lot of rain, a lot of damage. Few people lost their way, unfortunately. But I think you have to understand this in a larger perspective. For example, in 1995, there were as many as 17 hurricanes in the Atlantic. And I remember I wrote an article on that in our Canadian Oceanographic Society's bulletin. The 1995 hurricane season. Is it global warming or natural variability? And I wrote in my article that these things have happened. There were earlier years where there were as many as 12, 15 hurricanes in a year. Some of them very strong, some of them were not too strong. So this whole hype that our human activity is making hurricanes stronger, it doesn't hold water. I would go ahead and say it's a hogwash. Anyway.
It is hogwash, isn't it? Because I think
so. It is just too much hype in that, you see. It just happened, sadly. I remember, Hurricane Katrina, and then there were well-known scientists. One of them I remember is late Stephen Schneider, who was at Berkeley. He's a well-known biologist, environmentalist, and he wrote articles. Not only that, several other environmentalists started to write articles. See, we told you. Look at Hurricane Katrina. 1,800 people unfortunately lost their lives. Hurricanes and tropical cyclones becoming stronger and stronger. We have to do something about it. And then what happened for next 12 years? We had nothing. I think 2-3 years there was this Hurricane Sandy which hit New Jersey coast, but it was barely a Category 2 storm. Then we have essentially right now a drought, I call it, in the hurricanes and tropical cyclones worldwide. Not just Atlantic-wide. So how do we explain that?
They don't. And nobody has demanded, especially Dr. Khandekar, from the mainstream media, who I think it is their job to ask these questions. No one has said, and no one did say over those years in between, you predicted that after Katrina there would be a series of huge storms, and then 4,000 days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Correct. And nothing happened.
Well, so what do we do? How should we then read the Trump administration, and I think they're right to do this, pulling out of the so-called Clean Power Plan, which seemed only designed to shut down coal-fired power plants, to make even natural gas plants hard to site and to build, and seemed designed to make electricity cost more in the United States, which I think inevitably will push more manufacturing over to other countries who will not burn coal or anything else as cleanly as we do.
Yeah, now about EPA, I think I'm just reading some of the information that Tom Harris sent me. I read about that EPA administrator, Mr. Scott Pruitt, is deciding to withdraw from that clean power plan. I know we have also similar kind of environmental protection agency in Canada, and they also identify this. But when it was identified several years ago, carbon dioxide as a pollutant, I felt very uncomfortable. And then as I tried to read internet articles, etc., I felt that there was a deliberate misleading confusion being created in the people's mind. I think they should define what is pollutant. Now, carbon dioxide, when you look at it, it's an inert gas. It is not a pollutant. It is not choking humanity. Carbon monoxide is, yes, coming out of car exhaust and makes carbon monoxide, and then all these VOx, NOx, volatile compounds, etc. Yes, they add to the atmospheric pollution, but certainly not carbon dioxide. So I think to begin with, it was rather ill-defined entity. When they say, oh, carbon dioxide is a pollutant, it was a very misleading term or misleading way it was introduced, and it created more confusion. And as a result, I see in Canada also, the carbon dioxide is a pollutant. We have to stop. We have to reduce that pollutant. And it is sometimes extremely difficult to explain to the lay person that you are mistaking carbon dioxide with the highly pollutant and toxic carbon monoxide.
Well, especially, Doctor, when you have CO2 as an essential ingredient for any biosphere that has green stuff growing in it. Without the green stuff, the rest of us die, and without CO2, the green stuff dies. Dr. Khandekar, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. He is a climate change scientist commenting on the Clean Power Plan and the Trump administration decision that was announced today to withdraw from the Clean Power Plan. And then maybe America can preserve some of its coal-fired electricity and do it right, that supplies all that inexpensive electricity that makes manufacturing and actually life here in these United States work so well.
The Lars Larson Show.